The disappearance of Madeline Kingsbury from Winona, Minnesota, a picturesque city nestled along the banks of the Mississippi River, a place often associated with tranquility and natural beauty, embodies a chilling, heartbreaking narrative of broken trust, escalating conflict, and the devastating, irreversible consequences of intimate partner violence. It's a story that shatters the illusion of safety, revealing the hidden dangers that can lurk behind the closed doors of seemingly ordinary homes and within the complex dynamics of relationships that were once built on promises of love and companionship. What began as a seemingly ordinary, unremarkable morning on March 31st, 2023, quickly and terrifyingly transformed into a community's worst nightmare, a haunting, enduring reminder of the fragility of life and the insidious presence of violence that can shatter families and leave an entire community reeling in shock and grief. While the discovery of Madeline's remains in June 2023, after months of agonizing uncertainty, brought a tragic, definitive end to the desperate, widespread search, it simultaneously and cruelly opened a new, even more painful chapter of unanswered questions, leaving a family irrevocably broken, a community in deep mourning, and a justice system grappling with the complexities and the profound emotional weight of a case that speaks volumes about the pervasive, often hidden threat of domestic violence and the urgent need for greater awareness, intervention, and support. The initial hours following Madeline Kingsbury's inexplicable disappearance were marked by a rapidly escalating sense of unease, alarm, and a growing, gnawing fear that something was terribly, irrevocably wrong. The 26-year-old mother of two, described by those who knew and loved her as a devoted, fiercely loving parent, a dedicated professional, and a vibrant, caring individual, had followed her usual morning routine, dropping her children off at daycare with their father, Adam Fravel, her ex-partner. This seemingly routine, unremarkable act, a normal, everyday part of their shared custody arrangement, became, in retrospect, the horrifying starting point of an agonizing, protracted mystery, the last known moment of normalcy before Madeline's life vanished into a void of uncertainty. She failed to show up for work at the Mayo Clinic, where she was a respected clinical researcher, a highly unusual and completely out-of-character occurrence for the dedicated and reliable professional. Repeated calls to her phone went unanswered, straight to voicemail, a chilling digital silence that grew increasingly ominous, increasingly terrifying with each passing hour, each unanswered ring. The initial, faint hope that this was all a simple misunderstanding, a temporary lapse in communication, a misplaced phone, or a sudden, unforeseen emergency, quickly evaporated, replaced by a chilling, undeniable realization that something was terribly, profoundly wrong. The familiar, comforting rhythm of daily life, the predictability of routine, had been violently disrupted, shattered into a million pieces, replaced by a growing, suffocating sense of dread and the terrifying, vast unknown. As the hours stretched into a day and the day into night with no word from Madeline, attention and suspicion inevitably and justifiably turned to Adam Fravel, her ex-partner and the father of her two young children. While not initially named as an official suspect by law enforcement, his status as the last known person to have seen Madeline alive, coupled with emerging, increasingly disturbing reports of a troubled, volatile and potentially abusive relationship, placed him squarely and unavoidably under the intense, unforgiving microscope of both public scrutiny and relentless law enforcement investigation. The investigation, initially focused on finding Madeline, began to shift, subtly but significantly, towards a potential criminal investigation, with the dark, ominous spectre of intimate partner violence looming large, casting a long, chilling shadow over the entire case. Reports began to surface, whispered at first, then amplified by social media and news outlets, of past conflicts, of heated arguments, of alleged controlling and manipulative behavior, of a relationship far more complex, far more strained, and potentially far more dangerous than it might have appeared on the surface to outside observers. The investigation began to painstakingly unearth a history of instability, a pattern of behavior, a dynamic of power and control that painted a deeply disturbing picture and cast a long, dark and deeply unsettling shadow over the circumstances surrounding Madeline's sudden and inexplicable disappearance. The idyllic image of a co-parenting relationship began to crumble, revealing a far more turbulent and potentially dangerous reality. The search for Madeline Kingsbury was immediate, intense, widespread and emotionally charged, involving multiple law enforcement agencies, hundreds of dedicated volunteers, and a community united in its desperate, unwavering determination to bring her home, to find answers, to offer any assistance they could. Searches focused, strategically and with increasing urgency, on areas Fravel was known to frequent: rural landscapes, sprawling wooded areas, and secluded locations along the Mississippi River, places that, in their natural beauty, held a chilling, heartbreaking potential for concealment, for hiding the unthinkable. Cadaver dogs were brought in, adding a grim, somber reality to the search efforts. Each passing day without any sign of Madeline, without any answers, fueled the growing, gnawing fear that she had met with foul play, a fear that was tragically, devastatingly confirmed with the discovery of her remains in June 2023. More than 2 agonizing months after her initial disappearance. The location, described only as a remote area in Fillmore County, underscored the deliberate, calculated nature of her concealment, adding another layer of profound horror and unspeakable cruelty to the already devastating, heartbreaking narrative. The discovery, while bringing a measure of closure, a terrible final answer to the question of her whereabouts, simultaneously ripped open a new, raw wound, shifting the focus, the energy and the emotional weight of the case from finding Madeline, the missing person, to understanding the precise circumstances of her death, bringing those responsible to justice and ensuring that her memory would be honored and her children protected. The arrest of Adam Fravel on charges directly related to Madeline Kingsbury's death, including second-degree murder, marked a significant, legally crucial turning point in the case, but it did not and could not bring an end to the profound questions, the lingering uncertainties, the overwhelming grief, or the gaping hole left in the lives of those who loved Madeline. While the legal process began to slowly unfold, the full, detailed picture of what happened to Madeline in those final hours, the precise timeline of events leading up to her death, and the full extent of the alleged abuse and control she may have endured in the preceding months and years, remained, and may always remain, at least partially obscured, subject to the often slow, deliberate and complex process of investigation, legal arguments, and ultimately a trial. The discovery of her remains provided a tragic, irrefutable answer to the agonizing question of her whereabouts, bringing a measure of closure to that specific aspect of the mystery, but it left unanswered, and perhaps unanswerable, the crucial questions of why and how. Questions that haunt her family, her friends, and the entire community, questions that may only be partially and painfully answered through the long, arduous, and emotionally draining process of a criminal trial. The arrest brought a sense of accountability, but it could not bring back Madeline, nor could it erase the trauma and the lasting impact of her loss. The Madeline Kingsbury case serves as a devastating, heartbreaking, and profoundly unsettling illustration of the insidious, often hidden, and tragically lethal nature of intimate partner violence. A stark, unforgettable reminder that danger can lurk behind closed doors, within the seemingly safe confines of homes, and within the complex, often fraught dynamics of relationships that once held the promise of love, stability, and security. It is a story of a young woman, a vibrant and dedicated mother, a beloved daughter, a cherished sister, a valued friend and colleague whose life was tragically, violently, and prematurely cut short, leaving behind a void, an emptiness that can never be truly filled, a legacy of grief and unanswered questions. It is a story of a community grappling with the unthinkable, struggling to reconcile the image of a peaceful, close-knit town with the brutal reality of a horrific crime committed within its midst. The case forcefully underscores the critical, urgent need for increased awareness, for proactive intervention, for readily available and accessible support for victims of domestic violence, and for a societal shift in attitudes that too often minimize or dismiss the warning signs of abuse. It is a plea to break the cycles of violence, to challenge the patterns of control and manipulation, and to prevent future tragedies, to ensure that no other family has to endure the unimaginable pain and suffering that Madeline Kingsbury's family has endured. While the legal proceedings will ultimately determine Adam Fravel's guilt or innocence, the profound loss of Madeline Kingsbury remains a deep, enduring tragedy, a testament to the devastating consequences of unchecked violence and a powerful, resonant call for justice that echoes far beyond the courtroom walls, a call that demands to be heard and heeded. The search for Madeline may be over, but the search for understanding, for healing, for a way to prevent such senseless, heartbreaking tragedies from happening again continues, fueled by the enduring power of love, the unwavering memory of a life cut short, and the relentless, uncompromising pursuit of justice in the face of unimaginable loss.